Radio Now 100.9's Indy Connection with Emily Metheny.
Hello, I'm Emily Metheny, your host. This week, I had a chance to talk about one of my favorite days of the year with the organization behind it, and that's Giving Tuesday. I spoke with Caryn Stein, and she gave me a little history about the organization and what people can do this year.
Well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Caryn Stein. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for Giving Tuesday. And my role here is to help tell the stories of all of the different ways people can give back and be generous, not just on Giving Tuesday on December 1st, but really all year round.
And can you tell us a little bit about where Giving Tuesday came from?
Sure. So Giving Tuesday originated as a simple idea in 2012. And the premise was, what if we had a day dedicated to doing good? And the program really originated out of the 92nd Street Y in New York. And it has really grown quite substantially since then. And so we've seen exponential growth in people picking up on that idea and running with it. And so we feel like that's really a testament to why generosity and giving back resonates with people. We now have national country movements in over 70 countries around the world. And we have local community leaders in 230 plus communities around the United States. And all of those folks take time to rally their communities, reach out to individuals, small businesses, brands, organizations to build a coalition and create campaigns to help people get involved in their community and give back, whether that's with time, money, goods, an act of kindness, maybe advocacy. And we really encourage every kind of giving. Certainly, there is a lot of need this year, and financial contributions are important, but we encourage people to give what they have from where they are. And we believe that every act of generosity counts and everyone has something to give.
And if someone wants to learn where their local leaders are for Giving Tuesday, where can they find this information and what options they have to give?
Sure. So we find that most organizations will participate in some way on Giving Tuesday. And so we encourage you to reach out to your favorite causes, your local community organizations to see what they might be doing. On our website, givingtuesday.org, you can find a map of local and global community campaigns and drill down into there and find out what might be happening closer to your area. I know there are many campaigns and events happening in and around Indianapolis and across Indiana. So there's no shortage of ways for people to be able to give back and participate and do that in a safe way, considering the time period that we're going through right now.
And because this year we've had the pandemic and it's been hard for many, many organizations, many, many different people. And if people can't give, you mentioned it a little bit ago, but can you give some other ways that people can do the advocacy side for the organizations?
Sure. We know that this year is hard on many fronts. And we also know that there is increased need across the board. We know that individuals might be struggling. We know that routines and workplaces have been disrupted. And we see that organizations and community support are trying to meet that increased demand. At the same time, we see that giving is actually up this year, which is encouraging. We see that people are actually rising to the occasion, that they want to do something, they want to give back, but we recognize that financial uncertainty might be a challenge for some. And we encourage people to think about what they do have to give and what they are really passionate about. Is that some skills that they could offer to a local nonprofit, perhaps helping them with their outreach, helping them do some fundraising on their behalf, thinking about advocacy. And so there are a couple of different ways that people could do this. One very simple way is to share the message of a nonprofit or an organization or a campaign that needs help. Is there something that really speaks to you? Is there something that you're really passionate about? Is there something that maybe you've been helped by in your life or in your community? Can you help share that message? And just the act of simply sharing that message with your friends and family, your colleagues, sharing that out, of course, on social media, just helping to raise awareness and spread the word is certainly a way to express your generosity and participate. And so I really encourage people to do that really on Giving Tuesday for sure, and kind of share how they give and share why it's important to encourage others to do so, but really all year round. Organizations are always looking for that kind of support. And I think that's a way to stay connected with that kind of work, whether or not you can get out and volunteer, or whether or not you might be able to make that kind of financial contribution this year.
And in our audience, we do have some younger adults. How can they get involved and start looking and finding organizations that really speak to them? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've seen a real upswell of young people taking action. I mean, I think you've seen that in recent years, but more specifically now. And I think it's a way for kids and families to think about how to connect with their community when they might be a little bit isolated, how to find some other outlets for creativity and kindness when they might need something else to do outside of school. And so we have a program called Giving Tuesday Spark, and it's really about engaging youth and doing good in the world in whatever way they would like to do that. And so we have ideas on the website for families and kids to give back. Very simple things to do. Can you pack 5 lunches and hand them out? Can you reach out to maybe an elderly person and have a conversation when people are, again, feeling kind of isolated and alone, maybe a little bit afraid? We shouldn't forget the power of just making that connection and maybe teaching kids that is a valuable way to express kindness and generosity. So we have a lot of ideas. Lots of kids are finding ways to do some of that virtually, but also to rally their friends and maybe classmates to do projects that then they could take and distribute, of course, in a way that is compliant with safety precautions. And so we really encourage people to get out and look for those ideas. GivingTuesdaySpark.org has a great collection of simple ideas that are family friendly. And there are lots of other ways that you might be able to get involved, let's say with your local community organization. And I know often that United Way and the Boys and Girls Clubs organizations in different communities have opportunities as well.
Excellent. And you kind of touched on this as well. Because we are distant but together, how is Giving Tuesday and making those connections, making it easier to stay connected? I know that's a really weird way to say that, but
no, we find that people are really yearning for ways to stay connected this year. And in some cases, our traditional methods of getting together, certainly for holidays or for community events, looks different. But we have found that a lot of people and organizations are finding creative ways to do that. So whether those are virtual events, streaming concerts, thinking about ways that people can come together in conversation. We also are seeing in some creative ways that communities are still hosting those events, but doing it in a way that's a little bit safer. So let's say, you're familiar with the idea of a trunk or treat for Halloween. We've seen some organizations come together and do a very similar concept for a fundraiser. So kind of like a drive-through fundraiser where you could drive through a park or a parking lot and drop off your donations, in a bin or in a different way where you can see the breadth of organizations in that community, which is very important to understand. What are the services that are available? What are the very different things that are happening in my community that make my community my community? And we see that pride still coming forward. And so we think that this season we'll actually see an increase in that. I think people are really looking for that connection. They're looking for ways to help. And it provides an outlet when there might be a lot of things in the world right now that we feel like we're not in control of. There are some things that we still can do to reach out to help, and they can make a really big impact. And so I would really encourage everyone to think about, what are some ways that we can still stay connected. Just the act of reaching out and staying connected is a great act of kindness, particularly right now as the weather starts getting colder and people are going to be staying inside more. But reaching out to your organizations and your community, finding out what they're doing. It's a great opportunity for you to be proactive and learn a little bit more about some of the things that are happening in your community. And there are myriad ways that people can get involved. And it doesn't mean that you have to be a billionaire philanthropist. You can start where you are and stay connected in it. And it really does make a great impact.
And here in Indianapolis, we're very fortunate to have a lot of wonderful organizations. And people can find some of the nonprofits to start looking to see what they might be interested in. If they're new to giving, you can check out radionowindy.com, where I've talked with a couple other organizations in the past, and that might spark an interest to learn more about them, or it might help you find an organization that you want to do this advocacy or give to for Giving Tuesday this year.
Exactly. I think if people can find the things that they are really passionate about, and just offer what you can. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a financial contribution. Certainly those are important. Certainly these organizations need support. But there are lots of different ways that you can support. Are you able to give goods? Can you give a donation of food or clothing or other things that could be used? Can you give your gift of time, your gift of voice? And that could mean telling other people that organization's story, or potentially fundraising or advocating on behalf of that organization. So there's just so many ways to get involved. And I would say start with one if you're not sure, and see how that goes, and go from there. But there are resources, like you said, the station, your local nonprofit associations, coming to the givingtuesday.org website. We have lots of ideas on other ways you can get involved. And then if you are on social media, kind of following that hashtag, you'll start to see a lot of different things that are bubbling up, and creative ideas that you might want to embrace and bring to your community.
Because Giving Tuesday this year is Tuesday, December 1st, correct, Kären?
Correct. So Giving Tuesday is always the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. This year it falls on Tuesday, December 1st. We are already seeing lots of great campaigns and activations around the world, already leading up into the day. And we really encourage that this is a great opportunity to kind of come back together after Thanksgiving, leading into the holiday season. But we're working year round. And so there are always opportunities to participate in something that is certainly rewarding personally, but keeps you connected to your community at large, and does have a great impact on people who are in need. And we know that need is really greater than ever.
And if people want to get involved and follow Giving Tuesday on social media, what's your handle?
So we are on pretty much every social media platform at Giving Tuesday. And if you follow the Giving Tuesday hashtag, you'll see a great variety of ways that people are celebrating generosity, giving back, highlighting the ways that people can connect and come together. And I think you'll definitely be inspired on ways that you might be able to plug into that and find your own path of doing something good for your neighborhood.
Excellent. And just as a reminder, it can be as big as one of the national nonprofits, or it could be your local soup kitchen. It can be anything in between.
It can really be anything. I mean, I think that's the beauty of Giving Tuesday, and why so many people have embraced it. It becomes what you want it to be. And we intended for it to have that flexibility, so that as many people as possible could adopt it and adapt it to their own interests and community needs. And so, yes, it can certainly be a national or international organization, a local or regional organization. It could also be your neighbor. It could also be something that you're doing just for the people in your life, or maybe somebody who needs a little help in your neighborhood, or maybe you go rake the leaves, and do something nice. And so it doesn't have to be a formal charitable act to be an act of kindness and generosity.
Beautiful. Kären, before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I just encourage everyone to remember, this premise that, everyone has something to give, and every act of generosity counts. Start where you are, reach out, do something good. It has a great impact, but it also feels good, right? It feels good to do good. And I think you'll find that once you start doing more of it, you'll want to do more of it. And we encourage and celebrate that. And we thank everyone who is already reaching out and giving back. It's really making a difference.
For the second part of the show, I talked with Kären Haley, Executive Director of the Indianapolis Cultural Trail. We talked about what the organization has been doing recently, including cleanups and bringing local musicians to play during the election season. We also talked about what people can do safely on the trail this winter while observing social distancing. This interview was recorded on November 5th.
So the Indianapolis Cultural Trail, Legacy of Gina Marilyn Glick, we have been Really busy this fall. We have hosted a lot of volunteers. It's been a great way. Our volunteer program has been a great way for people to be outside, give back to the community, and also, spend some quality time with friends and family too, which we're all looking for these creative ways to be with our friends and family outside right now. And so we've really seen an uptick in our volunteer program, which has just been exciting to see the community coming together and kind of doing all that fall cleanup that you should do at your house. We've been doing that on the Cultural Trail. And then recently, we have also had, over the early voting period, Luger Plaza, which is this amazing new public space, this public park in downtown, connected and bordered by the Cultural Trail. We have been we hired over 70 musicians to come play live music for the early voters as they waited in line for the city-county building. So the plaza was full of people coming to vote, and they really got an amazing snapshot of the rich and diverse music scene here in Indianapolis. And we were just really happy to make that happen by, connecting people to culture, bringing this music to new audiences, and giving some paid opportunities for musicians at the same time, because as we all know, indoor activity has not been what it normally is, and that's where a lot of the musicians, make their money and make their living. So we were able to provide this amazing outdoor venue with a built-in audience as people waited in line, and just highlighted the amazing music scene we have here. And we got so much feedback about, I had no idea that caliber of music was here in Indianapolis. So, thinking about bringing and highlighting the culture of our city on the Cultural Trail, this was a great thing that we were able to pull together.
Excellent. And with this initiative, this is probably the first time people have been able to hear live music in how many months?
A long time, most of the indoor venues have been closed, and, I've seen a lot of creative playing venues from the musicians. People, like neighborhoods, have been having musicians come play, or musicians have just kind of started playing and people have gathered. But this was really, for 3.5 weeks, an outdoor music venue for our community. And there were such amazing, talented musicians that we had, everything from classical to hip-hop to singer-songwriter to jazz to blues. It was just, we had it all, some bluegrass, and people just kept saying, wow, I haven't heard live music in so long. So we were able to bring joy and put smiles on people's faces. They were dancing as they waited. They would shout out requests to the musicians, but then also just great exposure for the musicians to show, really this audience that hasn't heard live music in so long, but also just expose them to the amazingly talented musicians that we have here in Indianapolis. It was just really fun to be a part of and to watch. And everyone just seemed really grateful for the opportunity, both the musicians who were playing, but also, the people who were waiting in line. We even had people come and bring blankets and just kind of hang out on the lawn, which was fun because it really was just free concerts for 3 weeks. And people took advantage of that even when they weren't waiting in line. So it was fun to see the different ways that, so many people from all over Marion County were able to come and do their civic duty and vote, but also be exposed to amazing live music, local live music at the same time.
And has this inspired any ideas for next year as we get past the winter, or is there any opportunities this winter?
I think that's what we've all been thinking about. Our team at the Cultural Trail has been thinking about what can we do to keep people outside, and what are ways that we can keep people coming back to the Cultural Trail and to the many places it connects in downtown, so that there's something to do in the winter. All you've got to do is bundle up and dress in layers, and you can be outside in the cold. And, I think this winter in particular is so important to kind of change that mindset that we hunker down inside in the winters. There's a place for that, but really, we can still be outside and be active and experiencing our community and the culture of our community outside in Indianapolis on the Cultural Trail. So we're thinking about winter. We're thinking about kind of what will bring people together and what will bring people outside. So maybe that's more live music. Maybe that's working just to, create some cozy corners. Maybe we bring in some fire pits safely, of course, that would give people a chance to gather and to have community in an outdoor setting, which is just going to be such a, if you think about what we're hearing from the public health experts, being outdoors is just going to be so crucial as we head into winter. And we hope to do our part to kind of provide those activities for people on the Cultural Trail and in downtown.
And how can people stay up to date with the different events and different opportunities to experience the Cultural Trail?
So our website and also social media. I mean, we post things on social media. Our handles for most everything, every channel is at Indy Cultural Trail, and that's where we were posting the lineups for Luger Plaza. We were hosting the snippets of the musicians playing, and also that's where we post just anything that happens on the Cultural Trail. So whether it's just reminders that we have a Indy Cultural Trail shop for people to use, when you're thinking about gift giving for the holiday season, buy a Cultural Trail mug, where we highlight all of those items on our social media channels and our website. And same thing with our volunteer opportunities. We will continue to have volunteer opportunities throughout the winter. Again, just trying to be creative with how we provide opportunities for people to be outside, to have that 6 feet of distance between them, but still, have that time with friends and family.
And as we do get into the colder, wintry months, what can people do on the trail?
You can do everything you would on a regular basis. So we clear the trail of snow and ice when it snows, or it undoubtedly will. So we know that the trail, it will always be a place for people to run, to walk, to push a stroller, to ride a bike. Pacer's Bike Share, one of our most popular programs, it runs throughout the winter as well. So you can continue not just riding bikes on the Cultural Trail, but if you have a few friends and you want to use Pacer's Bike Share, it's a great way to just, take the trail experience right around downtown, or the amazing greenway network that our city has, and do that without worrying about how you're getting your bike to the trail, or how you're going to, what are you going to do if you stop and get some hot chocolate along the way with your bike. Bike Share is a great way to just kind of have that spontaneous experience along the Cultural Trail. And then also looking to partner with organizations that are, near the trail. One of the reasons why the trail was created was to connect all the cultural institutions and the cultural districts. And so thinking about partnering with, these places that, again, traditionally are inside and do their programming inside, how can we work with them to get some of the programming out on the trail, especially as we think about, again, what's going to keep people outside during the winter? It's coming up with creative and fun ideas that will make it worth putting on that hat and gloves and going for a stroll on the Cultural Trail.
And coming up, we do have Small Business Saturday coming up at the end of the month.
We do.
And
there are so many small businesses on the Cultural Trail. And so we always, hopefully you hear my excitement in the voice, we love highlighting all of the small businesses along the Cultural Trail. And so many of them are still open and have been so creative with how they've reached out to their customers and their clients and pivoted. And, you can take the Cultural Trail to get to those places. So, a lot of people, if they're coming to downtown, if you don't live downtown, I know everyone always talks about parking. Well, there's so many places to park in downtown Indianapolis. And even if you don't get that spot right out in front of your favorite small business, take the Cultural Trail. You can find a parking spot somewhere else, and then just take the Cultural Trail to wherever you're wanting to go. Mass Ave has so many great shops. Fountain Square has so many great local shops, and the Cultural Trail runs right through the heart of both of those cultural districts. So maybe use it as an opportunity to go do your Shop Small Saturday where you know you're going to go, and then take the Cultural Trail to explore some of the other great small businesses that are in downtown. A lot of them kind of bring their storefronts out onto the Cultural Trail for Shop Small Saturday. So it's really just like an outdoor fun bazaar with some of the amazing creative local shops and restaurants that we have in Indianapolis.
Excellent. And if someone wants to start planning the different shops that they want to stop at, is there a map with everybody on the Cultural Trail that people can look at?
Yep. So our website, indyculturaltrails.org, has a map, and it also interfaces with Google Maps, and so you can see, kind of where those great local stores are located. Same with the great local restaurants. I mean, so many of them are continuing to serve outdoors, have expanded their outdoor seating. So again, great opportunity, Shop Small Business Saturday, to get out and explore downtown Indianapolis through the Cultural Trail and visit some of these great, again, restaurants and stores that have been so creative with how they've continued to their business and their, just kind of selling their amazing wares and throughout the pandemic. They're still doing that, and it's a great opportunity to support them.
And what other events do you have coming up this winter that you can tell us about?
Stay tuned to social media. We've got a lot that we're working on. We will continue. We do have, we do tours of the cultural trail, so those will continue. Again, it's all about layering. So other than that, stay tuned to our social media. I think you'll see a lot of what we like to call kind of pop-ups, where we'll let you know what's happening, the day before it's happening, just so that we can keep an eye on what Mother Nature's doing with the weather, but also still have those spontaneous, those exciting opportunities to connect with each other and our city's culture along the cultural trail this winter. So some things we've been talking about is, if it's really cold, can we do some ice sculptures? If there's snow, can we organize, everyone doing snowman contests on the cultural trail? I mentioned the fire pits. We're thinking about how, again, do we think creatively with maybe having some lights. Again, just little things, some little touches that will make it interesting and dynamic and continue to make the cultural trail just an amazing place for people to visit and walk and be outside with their friends and family this winter.
Excellent. Kären, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Just to encourage people to follow us on social media at Indy Cultural Trail, and then just also a reminder that the Cultural Trail is a nonprofit. So if someone does decide to do their holiday shopping, all of those proceeds on the Cultural Trail's website, all of that goes back to support the Cultural Trail, our programming, our operations and maintenance. It really does help us keep the lights on and the snow clear during the winter months. So we just appreciate being here for the community and love figuring out how we can better serve the Indianapolis community and the culture of our city.
Perfect. And as people are planning for their end of year giving, for Giving Tuesday, you can keep the Cultural Trail in mind.
You absolutely can keep the Cultural Trail in mind. We actually, our board has come together and is matching contributions that come in this year. So your dollar that you give to support the Indianapolis Cultural Trail will be stretched and will be doubled by a match from our board of directors.
And if someone has an idea of something that they'd love to see on the Cultural Trail, maybe as a winter experience, how can they get in contact?
Tell us, yeah. So the easiest way, you can direct message us on social media, or you can also send an email to request@indyculturaltrail.org, and we are always open for suggestions and partnerships. That's how the city works so well, and we'd love to hear ideas for especially this winter. We want to make it a great winter for everybody.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, Kären.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me this week. And if you have anything you'd like me to cover, you can reach out. My email is emetheny, that's EMETHENY @radio-one.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter @EmilyDoesVideo. Thanks for listening, and please join me again next week. Until then, have a great week.
Radio Now 100.9's Indy Connection with Emily Metheny.